to get into the NFL draft and more. Emory Hunt joins us on the Boardwalk Honda hotline. You can follow Emory on Twitter at FBallGamePlan. That's FBallGamePlan. And, of course, one of the things about Emory is that he played college football, so he understands the running back from a very unique perspective. And I'm happy to have him on board today. Emory, how you doing this afternoon?
I'm doing fine, Josh. I appreciate you having me on. Just trying to bear out this blizzard we got going on.
Yeah, how is it where you're at? Because I keep looking out the window down here. It's still a cold rain down here in South Jersey.
Well, see, I'm up here in North Jersey, like right outside New York City, and right now it's just starting to pick up. So we're looking at probably 1.5 inches, 2 inches right now. But it's been nothing until about noon, and this last 1.5 inches has picked up in the last 2.5 hours.
Gotcha. Well, I still have. Listen, I got the windshield wiper blade sticking up in the air of my car on the outside because I'll be here probably till 8 o'clock tonight. So, listen, I'm keeping my fingers crossed, but hopefully it doesn't get too bad down here. So let's get into Saquon Barkley stuff. Yesterday he didn't work out, and I thought it was interesting because the reason he told ESPN's Diana Rossini why he didn't work out was because no team sent their running back coaches to send him through drills. First of all, I want to know from you, do you believe that explanation? And two, does it really matter that he worked out or not yesterday?
I can sort of believe that, but and on the back end, I don't think it matters anyway if he worked out. There's 2.5 years of tape of him out there performing at a high level on a consistent basis, and I feel as though he probably thinks that, hey, I've shown enough not only on film but also at the combine. All you guys were there at the combine. You saw me go through the position drills, and you saw me run the 40-yard dash, and you've seen me on tape. So I'm just out here supporting my teammates.
How much in the back of the mind of Barkley and other guys is what happened to Sidney Jones last year? Because, listen, he was just doing a normal drill, and bam, his Achilles is done, and he goes from being arguably who would have been the number one cornerback taken in the draft to drop to as far as he did to Philadelphia.
I think that could play a part in the reason why some of these high-profile guys may not work out. I think it plays more of a role in the bowl games as opposed to their pro day. If they didn't work out at the combine, I know Sidney Jones worked out at the combine and didn't work out and also worked out at his pro day. I think that right there could be something like, you're starting to see now with all the training that these guys are doing constantly in the off season. Leading up to their pro day, leading up to the combine, you don't want to overwork the body. Give the body time to rest. I think that also plays a role into it as well.
We know that, without a doubt, Saquon Barkley is the number one prospect in the 2018 NFL draft. But in your mind, will he be the number one pick?
You know what? No, I don't think he'll be the number one pick, although he should be. If everyone talks about, you hear it every year, everyone talks about best player available. Okay, if this is the best player available, then you take him, correct? And so I just don't understand why I think this is where fantasy football has gotten too heavily involved in how people view the game. And listen, I like fantasy football, but it has people focus on, oh, well, you don't take a running back that high because of the position value. But these are the same people that are saying take a guard in the top 5. Are you kidding me? So, yes, you take a guy like Saquon Barkley. There's a difference between Saquon Barkley and Carlos Hyde. And that's why you take Saquon Barkley first. Now, if you're the Browns and you really want to blow the league up, you take Lamar Jackson first, let everybody climb up there in 2 and 3 and take those quarterbacks, and then at number 4, you take Barkley. And now you really cause havoc on the league.
Do you really think that Barkley would get past the Giants, though? Because in many ways, the Giants, they don't absolutely have to get a quarterback if they're not enamored with them one, especially if they say, listen, we got all this money to pay Eli Manning. We'll just stick with Eli for a couple of years, and we'd rather put a guy to complement him out there in this offense than drafting that high for a quarterback.
Now, here's why I can agree with that, because this is why you have to have good intel if you're an NFL franchise that, hey, if the Giants are strongly considering Barkley, you know what? Let's just take Barkley first, because we know these teams will not take Lamar Jackson, and that's when we can double back and take Lamar Jackson at 4.
And that makes a lot of sense to me, because we know that, as you said, teams are going to clamor. The Jets already traded up to 3. The Giants could basically auction off that number 2 overall pick to the highest bidder and get a ton in return for it. If you're the Browns, you already traded for Tyrod Taylor. And Tyrod Taylor, what is he? He's a mobile quarterback who doesn't make a lot of turnovers. Lamar Jackson, who better for him to sit behind than a quarterback who is in some ways a similar style the way he would be in the NFL, even though we know Lamar is a better athlete and a probably, I would say, a better potential as a quarterback than Tyrod Taylor could ever be. But to me, if you're the Browns and that's the way you're thinking, you could walk out of this draft with a steal, as well as you said, everybody else is clamoring for the other quarterbacks.
I agree, because here's the thing. Let's say the Browns take Barkley first, and you have the Giants like Drax. Well, they took our guy. Maybe we take the guard. Maybe we trade down. Somebody who's going to want Rosen, Mayfield, Allen, or Darnold. You know what? Maybe at 4, we could probably trade back to about 5, maybe 6. And now you start playing the board like, okay, we can keep dropping down until we get about right above the Buffalo Bills at, let's say, 11 or 10 or 11, and we take Lamar Jackson and really come away with the best quarterback, the best running back, and a boatload of picks to continue to make moves and deal to even try to jump back into the first round for a third pick like they did last year.
Is it a lot with a quarterback position? The old saying, beauty is in the eyes of the beholder, because of the fact that, to me, I look at this draft class, there's not one guy that is so much better than the rest. So to me, I think a lot of this, whether it's Sam Darnold's workout today or what the guys did at the combine, guys like Josh Allen, I think a lot of this stuff really depends on how the team really views these guys. It's not as much about if these guys can or can't play, because we saw them play in college. We know that they can play the quarterback position. But isn't a lot of this purely how the teams view these quarterbacks?
Exactly, because I can view Lamar Jackson as the number 1 quarterback in this draft class, clear cut. But that doesn't mean that you may view it the same way. And if we're 2 different GMs of a franchise, we may have that difference of view. Plus, you also got to wonder. It makes you wonder who has the bigger voice or the loudest voice. Because you have the scouts that have been out there, you have the coaches that just jumped on the scene and start to evaluate these prospects, and you have the GM that has his own way of thinking. All of those guys have to be on the same page, and not everybody may agree. They may have to come to an agreement. So that's why it's always tough. Because look at last year, you had the Browns at the number 1 overall pick, and everyone talks about how important it is to get the quarterback. Well, you had the first overall pick last year. Why not just take Deshaun Watson when you had the number 1 pick? Oh, well, you got to get the in because he's a generational talent. Yeah, but he's not better than Derek Barnett, who, by the way, had the strip sack fumble in the Super Bowl. So you could have got Watson and could have got Barnett. If the quarterback is that valuable, you take him first. So it maybe one guy was on the same page with another guy, and maybe guys who just didn't view Watson as their guy. So that's why it's always tough when you talk about the quarterback, because with any other position, everyone can come to a general consensus like, yeah, you know what, he is a good player. But quarterbacks, everyone has their style, their own personal likes and dislikes, and that's what makes that decision so tough. This is how you get a Blaine Gabbert going in the first round, a Jake Locker going in the first round, and E.J. Manuel going in the first round. Guys have to – whoever has the loudest voice is going to win out in the end. And you hope that guy that has the loudest voice has the common sense and the aptitude to pick the right player.
We're talking with Emory Hunt here on the Boardwalk Honda Hotline on 97.3 ESPN. You can follow him on Twitter at FBallGamePlan. Member of the Pro Football Writers Association, also a college running back. So your perspective, Emory, on these running backs to me intrigues me because – for you played the position. You understand the ins and outs of what it means to be able to excel at a high level. So everyone talks about Barkley, but who are the running backs after Barkley that you think are going to be grabbed early and quickly? Because we know a lot of times in the draft, teams make runs. They see one guy go off the board, and everybody starts jumping out of their seat.
Yeah, I think there's a running back 5-pack in this draft. You got Saquon Barkley, obviously number 1, but Rashad Penny, to me, is going to be this year's version of Kareem Hunt as far as bursting onto the scene and putting up tremendous numbers. This guy has the home run speed to take it the distance, can score from anywhere on the field. So I think he's up there. Sony Michel has the versatility that they love in this day and age of football. He can catch the ball, he can run, he can do it all. You also look at a guy out of Miami in Mark Walton, who reminds me a lot of Kareem Hunt as far as stylistically. He's so fluid when he runs. I think he's going to be a guy that someone's going to get, maybe in round 2 or 3, that's going to end up being a starter. I also like Chase Edmonds out of Fordham, a small school guy that's 5'9", 210, but has the wiggle, has the strength to run in between the tackles, and also has to receive the skills to be a down-in, down-out starter. I think he's going to be this year's version of what Tariq Cohen was to the football team last year with the Bears. And also you look at a guy coming out of USC and Ronald Jones. He has the legit home run speed. I know today was a pro day. He's still nursing that hamstring. That's a fast guy injury that I wouldn't know anything about. But that's the type of stuff that you deal with when you're blazing fast. But you give him a lane, and he's going to hit that home run pretty quickly.
Back to Rashard Penny for a minute. I feel like there's some conversation about him because it was just Donnell Pumphrey there before, and he had put up all those crazy numbers, and then Penny comes in and puts up his own crazy numbers. How much does that say about Penny versus Pumphrey versus that program being able to produce running backs?
Yeah, man, you're absolutely right. Their scouting department does a great job in identifying talent because you saw Pumphrey, you saw Penny. Last year, you kind of noticed Penny when he was returning kickoffs, and you was like, man, this guy they have backing him up is maybe better than Pumphrey. And he ran over for 1,000 yards last year. And this year as a starter, he went over 2,200 yards. And you notice that there's a guy that was returning kicks this past season that's going to be just as good as the other two. So they do a great job of identifying talents, and they run a scheme to where guys you're training their vision. And that's what you don't see nowadays in college football, when everyone's running out of the shotgun with the back offset to the side. You're really training his eyes to look at one side of the line of scrimmage. But when you're behind the quarterback, 7.5, maybe 8 yards back, like you are in that offense, you're seeing the entire line of scrimmage. So you're able to see things develop, and your vision is a little bit better than the guys that may play in those shotgun offenses. So that's why you see a guy like Penny seem to consistently find the right hole, and he has the speed and athleticism to burst through it and take it the distance. So I love their offense. They train your eyes properly, and guys are developing faster and be a little bit more apt to transition to the NFL.
Emory, one more before I let you go. I've been talking the last couple of days with different people about what the Eagles might do with the 32nd overall pick. And there's an obvious need for them at backup tight end. There's an obvious need for them for a safety of the future. Who are some of the guys that you look at who might be there at 32 who could be options for the Eagles either as a tight end or a safety?
Man, that's a great question. At tight end, it all depends on how the board falls for Philly, but you got to have a guy like, I'd say, a Mark Andrews out of Oklahoma. Dallas Goedert out of South Dakota State could be a surprise right there. I'm a big fan of Troy Fumagalli, but I know he's more of a receiver type. But when you look at safety, if Derwin James is there, for whatever reason, you're definitely going to take him. But you look at more of combo guys, guys like Justin Reed out of Stanford could be there who can play corner and or safety. Maybe a Marcus Allen or a Ronnie Harrison, two strong safety types that can fit the bill as well. And I'm a big fan of Jeremy Reeves as well out of South Alabama. He's a guy that played corner at South Alabama, moved to safety, so he can play both. Kind of reminds me a lot of what you have already in Malcolm Jenkins. So I think those are some of the guys that you want to keep an eye on at that 32nd pick, depending on how the board falls.
And we know that Justin Reed has a scheduled visit with the Eagles, whether that's happened yet or it's going to happen. So we know he is definitely one of the guys they are looking at. Follow Emory Hunt on Twitter at FBallGamePlan. Lots of great insights into the NFL draft each year, especially leading up. Emory, appreciate the time, and stay warm up there. Right now out my window, I'm going to look back out there. Nothing is laying yet, but we finally have snowflakes. So maybe I'll be catching up to you soon here.
I'm about to hit that pot of coffee right now as we speak.
Take care, my friend.
Thanks, Josh.